Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hash Rate. My name is Mark Jeffrey. My guest today is Dan Greer. Hello, Dan. How you doing?
How's it going? Good to be here.
So tell me, what is DeFiApp?
DeFiApp is crypto's or decentralized finance's SuperApp. So at its core right now, it's very much about, spot trading across chains. We have 6 chains that we support. So swapping seamlessly between those chains. Behind the scenes, it's just, everyday DEX products and bridges, but we abstract all that complexity away. So there's, it feels like a centralized exchange.
So the idea is that basically, using DeFi is hard, right? Like we've all, anyone who's lived through the last 4, years or whatever, playing around with MetaMask, going through the bridges from Phantom to whatever to BNB chain to Tron, and staking your tokens and providing liquidity and all that. Once you get used to it, it's not bad, but it's certainly not AOL simple, and it's certainly not something, as you guys like to say, that your grandmother could use, right? So basically you guys came along and said, all right, we're going to make this front end that is completely, it's Coinbase simple, if you will, or AOL simple, for the average user, where all that sort of staking and, get this token for that token, like all that is hidden from you and abstracted from you. And honestly, you're there to make money and trade. So you don't really need to know how the engine works. To drive your car, you don't need to know how the pistons work and all that other stuff, right? So that's the basic idea. Yes.
Yep, you got it. We want grandmas everywhere trading shit coins.
Yes.
But yeah, no, that's our analogy, because we're very, we're a UX design first company, and it's very much like I'm not even joking, like quite literally, we spend a lot of our energy. Obviously, most of our time is spent with crypto natives, because they're using the product on the day to day. But our checkbox is can someone who is not at all familiar with crypto or finance figure this thing out? Can they intuitively navigate the page and repeat back to us what this thing does? Do they, know what to expect and then do the thing, and then it does the thing that they were expecting? So it really is actually our threshold is can a grandmother figure this out? Because if yes, then great, we've done our job. We've simplified crypto.
Yeah, no, and I applaud you for that. And I think, I think a lot of times, a lot of companies, not just crypto companies, severely underestimate what the average person can comprehend. And it's not because they're stupid. It's just they're not used to it, right? So, and I think, I was at a company in 2007 or 8 called Mahalo that was led by Jason Calacanis. And it was a new kind of search engine. And we were, trying to do something to take down Google. Clearly, we didn't do it. We failed at that task. However, we did definitely influence the direction of search, which is a whole nother story. Google basically took some of our best ideas and implemented them, bottom line.
Classic.
But that said, during the time when we were building, we were doing a lot of user testing, right? So we would have people come into the office, and we had a guy with a clipboard sitting there, and he'd say, okay, I want you to go to Google, and I want you to enter in this search term. You get a result. What do you think of the result, right? And then we would tell them, go to Yahoo. And here was the interesting thing. They wouldn't type in yahoo.com. 99% of them would go to Google and type in Yahoo and then wait for the search result for Yahoo to come up and then click on Yahoo, right? They just thought of Google as the front door to the internet, like the AOL homepage. And it was something none of us would ever it wouldn't even occur to us to do it that way, right? And that's how normal people use the internet, right? And so it's really hard to get inside their heads.
Absolutely. And it's the only way to see it. And there's a lot of things you take for granted, especially being in crypto now for several years. It's you take these things for granted because you already overcame those hills. But most people, you can't even expect them to do the work to understand, the inner workings of the car. They just want to drive it. And that's fine. Everyone's got their thing that they're focused on, but it doesn't mean that they can't have access to crypto or, specifically decentralized finance. And it's funny you bring up the analogy about Google, because we say that a lot of the time as well, and what we're trying to become is kind of the Google of decentralized finance, because for most people on this planet, Google is the internet. Yeah. The Google, the internet is so much more, but for them, it is the internet, right? It's the front door to everything. And that case that you just explained there is exactly it, right? And so DeFi, our goal, this concept of becoming the super app or the home finance, it's really just about being like, when you want to interact with decentralized finance, right now, there really isn't a single place that you go to. And we want to give people that. Like right now, it's a combination of being in crypto Twitter, the watering hole that we're all a part of, navigating Google and searching through the minefield of links and making sure you don't get scammed along the way. Like, all of these awesome apps that are being built and all this technology that's being built is just so fragmented and hidden. And there is just no, discovery mechanism for it. Like it's troubled. So, we want to provide that. It's difficult managing the balance of this, permissionless world where things can also be dangerous for people. So like safety is a piece of that we have to navigate. But yeah, that's it's very, very good analogy.
Yeah, thank you. And as I say, I absolutely applaud you. It's a very difficult task to get it right. Right. So making a great, simple user interface, it's a lot easier to make something overly complex and space shuttle like, right? And getting it exactly right for the average user is extremely, extremely difficult. So let's dive into some of the details of your super app. So you say you support 6 chains. Which chains are we talking about?
Yeah, so the big ones: Arbitrum, Base, BSC, Mainnet, and Solana, of course. And then we just recently added Sonic.
You did
the FTM.
We did.
Yeah.
Andre was just on the show, and Michael
way.
Kong, the CEO. Yeah, this was the last show. So you're the next show. They were in episode 105. You're in 106. So yeah. So I'm happy to hear that you're a Sonic fan because I am as well. So yeah. Super cool because I'm not seeing that sort of I'm seeing that rising up the pack, but I'm not seeing it sort of equivalent with all those other ones just yet. But I think it's going to get there quickly and hopefully surpass it all. So awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. So, and now how do you, I'm trying to picture how how do you, I assume you're operating bridges and that sort of thing. What bridges are you using under the hood?
Yeah. So our big thing about how we're approaching, decentralized finance and how to really build something that is of value for people. How do we solve real problems?
Yeah.
We don't do that by reinventing the wheel. There are plenty of very, very good functional wheels that, people trust. We trust. There's also the legal risk side of things too. Decentralized products that, are able to handle everything. So DeFi has been designed in such a way that we don't have any of our own smart contracts that handles any money. So DeFiApp is purely just focusing on being the UX layer, the consumer-facing experience. So behind the scenes, or you can think of DeFiApp as kind of like this aggregator of aggregators. So, we work with Li-Fi. We're working with, 1inch for same chain swapping. Li-Fi is this aggregator of, DEXs and bridges for what it's worth, and they have like hundreds of them.
Okay.
We're working very closely with the Relay team as well. They're an intent-based bridge. Near instant finality on, most popular chains, actually pretty much all of the popular chains. D-Bridge is another one too. Same thing, intent-based bridge, instant finality. So behind the scenes, your swap might get routed through Sushi or, Uniswap or any of these big ones, or it might go through, I don't know, like Odos or something like that. It's very much just our positioning means that the DeFiApp experience should always be the best experience. Like we should always be, the right combination between fast, speed and affordability. As something better comes along in this space, we add it in there. The moment somebody comes along that is faster and cheaper than Relay, we add them in there. And it's great because it really makes use of the free market and it positions the DeFiApp experience to always be the best this industry has to offer.
Yeah. Okay. So your answer in part is that there's already aggregators out there, and instead of you building your own infrastructure to sort of figure out the routing of what DeFiApp users are asking for, you just use these aggregators, which have already got that logic built into it, and they figure out which bridge or whatever to use, and you just and basically you're just adding in the best of the aggregators and just focusing solely on the UI layer, which I think that's brilliant. That's absolutely the right. You want to be the best in the world at one thing, and that's your one thing is that layer, and
That's
the rest of it is not your what is it? Not my clown, not my circus, not my whatever that saying is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, you got it exactly. Like we're going to do our thing very well and let everybody else do their thing really well, and just take advantage of the free market mechanics. Get these. We integrate. Like Relay, for example, we've integrated them directly. They've been incredible, and we're looking for more. Like the moment someone else comes along, like we have an interesting thing where by owning the end user's attention, aka where do people spend the majority of their time, we now have something that's extremely valuable to projects. And so, as time goes on, we can find cheaper and faster projects and leverage our positioning to be able to get better deals that lead to better experiences for users.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you said earlier, because I have a thought on, you mentioned that Google is the front door to the internet, which I obviously agree with. In the crypto world, for a lot of people that aren't sort of sophisticated, Coinbase is the front door, right? So my guess is that they're probably your biggest competition. And I have some notes here, so I have some answers to this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway and see where you go with it. Why is DeFiApp better than Coinbase?
Why do the vast majority of people come to crypto?
Why do they come to crypto?
Yeah,
they want to make money.
What are they looking for? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends. It's not always the case, but a lot, sure. In America, they want to make money, right? They think they can invest their way into more wealth. If you're in the developing world, you might use crypto so that you can store your wealth in stable coins. So there you don't want to lose money, right? So
in the Western world, why do people choose to go on chain instead of trading entirely on Coinbase? Like, why not do all of their trading on Coinbase?
Well, because a lot of coins aren't available on Coinbase. That's one reason. Or they're afraid that if they, we've all heard the horror stories of Mt. Gox, where you leave your coins up on an exchange, the exchange goes away for whatever reason, all of a sudden your coins are gone. Which probably won't happen at Coinbase at this point. I think we're sort of past that risk phase, that particular risk anyway. But yeah, I still say, so why? So just tell me, why are you better than Coinbase? And I have some features. I have some ideas on this, but go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason why I ask those questions is because I think, for the vast majority of people, they want to make money. This is an opportunity, for people to come in and get 100x, 1000x opportunities. And those opportunities are usually gone by the time the token lists on an exchange. And to be able to take advantage of those opportunities, you have to go on chain. You have to go into decentralized finance. And so at the end of the day, if that's the core problem crypto is solving for the majority of people, we are like going straight to the source. If you use DeFiApp, you go straight to the source. It's the difference between a 3 to 5x opportunity versus a 100 to 1000x opportunity, right? Because DeFi is able to be so innovative. It's able to move so quickly. And if all of that is instantly available and tradable within DeFiApp, you're there. And centralized exchanges can't keep up with that. Like, the thing that also makes them trustworthy, regulation, is also the thing that holds them back and makes them slow. And so that's how DeFiApp is positioned, by being
really good answer
first.
You got to fish upstream from Coinbase if you want to make the real money. Bottom line.
Yeah.
By the time it gets to Coinbase, it's played out. There's some more to go, but the bulk of the wealth has been, aggregated by other people, not you. If you're on Coinbase and trading. So yeah, I agree with that. So I'm just going to read some of my notes here because I did take a few before the show. So in your universe, there's no KYC. Right. So, with Coinbase, you have the whole KYC process, all the centralized exchanges. It's a pain in the ass. You offer 10x leverage, which I don't believe Coinbase offers any leverage at all. Now that may change, but, leverage, I say to stay away from it. And I have played with it and I've done well with it and I've gotten burned. So I've, sort of had two sides of, I've experienced both sides of the leverage equation. But there's a lot of people that want leverage and they want to, 10x leverage is something that's really attractive to them. You have self-custody in your product, right? So that what I just spoke about earlier, where, your coins are on Mt. Gox and Mt. Gox disappears and you lose all your coins, that doesn't happen in your universe because the end user always has custody of their coins. Not your coins, not your keys, not your coins. In your universe, customer has their keys. So that right there, I mean, those are all really great reasons right there.
Yeah, and there's endless more, right? The space is going to keep changing. Eventually, there probably will be more and more options on centralized exchanges. But yeah, it's actually 40x for what it's worth. And our perps is entirely powered by Hyperliquid, which is, of course, a brilliant company, awesome team. They've executed extremely well. They're kind of the darling child of decentralized finance, and I think represent, a lot of the same vision that we're going after too, which is this, grassroots for the people, blockchain decentralized first. And it's there's endless reasons to come on chain over centralized exchanges, and it's inevitable.
Now, how long have you been working on this? How old is this project?
I think we first broke ground in terms of writing code. It was like last January, I want to say. Yeah. So we've moved really quick. I'd say probably as a whole, about a year and a half ish.
Yeah.
Actually, probably pushing closer to 2 years now in terms of ideation and everything. We've moved really quick. I am very blessed to have such a talented team. Very much the brightest in the space has had to offer. It's been a whirlwind.
And the app's available on iOS and Android?
Yeah, so we have those in alpha right now. They're very much going through, alpha testing. Android should be launching in early May, public access. You'll be able to have access to, the 6 blockchains and every token that exists on those chains in your pocket. You'll be able to trade it. You'll be able to trade perps on the go. It's going to be a really, what we're going for here is a centralized exchange-like experience, but it's all decentralized and self-custody.
So you said Android in May is sort of the target. Is there the iOS app is out now, or is it not?
iOS is in the works. Apple can, they slow things down, but it's in the works. Probably, I'd say early June at the latest.
Okay, hopefully. And so, but it is available in desktop, right? No, because I've used it.
Oh yeah,
so I did. I did go in and check it out. Yeah, okay.
Web app is available. You can of course use the web app on your mobile browser.
Yes. So because I did go and I did experience the magic of your user interface. And by magic, I mean actual magic. Like when I did something, little coins go bling, like it's gamified. Like I get experience points as I do things. Sort of like D&D where, your character, fights an orc or whatever. Dungeons and Dragons is what I'm talking about. You get experience points whenever, you kill the orc or do something important. In your universe, anytime I make a trade or stake some coins or whatever, I can see little coins of experience points go into my little treasure chest, and it makes a little magical noise. So you're attempting to make it gamified and fun and attractive to end users.
Why not?
Yeah. So what made you do that? Was that just something that you said this is something end users need?
Yeah, I mean, we points programs are very important these days for building communities, engagement. It's a fantastic way of rewarding early usage. You can, the way I see it is you can spend that money on running ads, or you can spend that, sharing XP in our case. And it's a way of sharing the success of DeFiApp with its users, with people.
And so you've been working on this for a year and a half. Did you guys raise money for this? Is this a venture-backed company? I don't think there's a point, right?
Yeah, it is. We bootstrapped initially, funded it ourselves. We did raise a small round. Honestly, I lose track. I think it was like 6 million we raised at the time. But it's one of those things. I've been so heads down building my, my team has been very focused on everything else. But 6 million, and very strategic partners, KOLs and other people in the space that are avid builders that, kind of have the reach. And yeah, and we also did a round with Echo. I think there were like 200 plus investors in there that invested in us. So yeah, it's been a fast one.
Yeah, pretty cool. So, tell me a little bit about like why you decided to do Sonic. I'm kind of interested in that because it is sort of an oddball choice at this moment in history. I don't believe it will be for long, but tell me why Sonic got included.
Yeah, so I mean this cycle, the majority of the volume, it's not like last cycle where it was just chains launching left, right, and center, and you had to keep up with all of that. It's been a lot slower paced.
Yeah,
Sonic, we very much admire, Andre. We admire the builders, of Phantom, of course, before, and now Sonic, and it's got. Quite honestly, it's got like a cult-like following. It's people love the chain; they always have loved the chain, and so we want to align with that. We've been very picky about what chains to add, and we do have a roster of more to add very, very soon here. The goal being to eventually support everything, but we're being very picky as time allows to add the first ones. We were also looking for things that kind of stand the test of time. I'm the biggest pain in the ass for this. Whenever a new shiny idea comes along, some trend in the space, there's this balance of like staying ahead of it. There's also assessing, is this useful? Do people care about this? Will they continue to care? And people have always cared about Phantom, now Sonic, and it was honestly that is it. We think Sonic's here to stay, and the community is going to continue building, and we want to be aligned with that in the future.
So you're one of those people that comes out of the old DeFi space like me, right? I'm guessing, but I think I'm right. And so when DeFi summer hit, you were, I'm guessing, a participant, Wi-Fi and all that stuff. And so you feel the love in your heart for Andre and Phantom and what those guys kind of did back then. Yeah. So, okay. You're shaking your head. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm feeling that one.
I love decentralized finance and the fact that anyone with a laptop in their mum's basement can build a world-changing product. I love that. It's full of tinkerers and inventors, and often they build incredible products, but oftentimes what they need is a clean UX that can kind of make it easy for users. And so that's kind of like our positioning is let's align with the builders, the best builders in the space, and give them a front end.
Yeah, actually, so I want to go back to, you were talking about new shiny objects, and when I tried out your product, I did notice that the virtuals, like all the stuff on, like all the AI meme coins, if you will, on Solana, and I think Base too, the virtuals universe and all the associated meme coins with mouths, basic agents, quote unquote, on Twitter or X. That are chatting it up, and some of those coins became worth $5 billion at their peak, right? So kind of a big up, and then kind of down. Not totally in the dirt, but definitely not where they were. So that would probably classify as a new shiny object. But the shiny object I'm looking at, and I spend most of my time on these days, is the BitTensor Tau universe. And the subnet tokens that have arisen over the last 8 to 9 weeks, where there's roughly 100 of them, and each one is a AI product, actually a serious AI product, not like the virtuals kind of meme coins with mouths, which aren't really products; they're just chatbots, right? So these are like, one example is Nova, which is a subnet which is hunting pharmaceutical molecules. Right. and the subnet token holders would share in the profits that would be made, if they were to find one using the AI. Right. So it's stuff like that. And are you looking at the BitTensor universe? Just curious about that.
We haven't actually spoken about it much, but I'm glad you bring that up. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of this goes over my head at the minute. I've been a little bit out the loop when it comes to because I'm just so, heads down building. But it's fascinating. And like I said, the ultimate vision in the future is that you can buy anything anywhere with DeFiApp. And if the volume is there, if the users are there, if there's clearly builders there, there's an energy there, then we want to align with that. It's the same reason why we chose Hyperliquid to power up Herps, to begin with. Like, we just want to go, where are the best builders at? Because they're probably following, problems and users. So
I think the reason I'll tell you what the reason I bring it up is that right now in the BitTensor Tau universe, you have to be on the BitTensor chain and you have to use the Tau token in order to buy the subnet tokens. And it's very hard and weird, and like Ethereum using the Klee wallet, or the Geth wallet back in the early days.
Yep.
It's kind of got that feel to it, or like Bitcoin on Mt. Gox. Like it's sort of that weird and hard. But I think there's going to very quickly become a lot of demand. But what people want is your experience. They want to basically swipe a credit card, buy subnet tokens. I don't know. I don't know how it happens. I don't know how it works. But I can buy Nova. I've heard that that's a good one. I've heard they're hunting pharma molecules. They already had one hit, and I think they're going to have another hit. So I want to buy that. And I don't know how to do it. And he who provides the swipe a credit card, get my Nova, the fastest, I think will be a very big winner. It's just my opinion, but that is where I think it's headed, because I think AI coins are probably one of the next big trends in crypto. And so far, nobody has provided that sort of bridge and service. So
sounds like they need some simplification.
They really do. They do. And they know it. Like, it's not like this is not news to them. But they're sort of building back to forward. So I think they've cooked the back end correctly. I think that all of that, like the quirkiness and the weirdness, it for them, it makes sense. And it's sort of like, how Bitcoin and Ethereum was at first quirky and weird to our minds, until we got used to it and we realized the advantages of that quirkiness and weirdness. Like in Bitcoin, you're like, wait, well, how come I can't reverse a transaction? That feels like a bug at first, right? Until you realize that actually that is what makes hard money work, right? Like, so it's kind of like that. They've got their own version of that. So I think they've chosen correctly, but I think the UI sucks. And I think whoever cracks that first it's going to be a giant banana. They're going to be a Binance. Like, I think it's that level of opportunity is sort of just hanging around right now for someone, whoever comes by and picks up Excalibur is going to be King Arthur, I think. So
sounds
we'll
like
see.
I've got some weekend homework to be doing.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about, let's see, where do I want to go next? Oh, yes. So let's talk about fiat in and out. So how can I enter your universe? I'm someone who doesn't use crypto. Can I use PayPal? Can I use Apple Pay? Like, what are the rails? What are the fiat rails in?
All of the above. So we actually integrated OnRamper. They're an aggregator of fiat on-ramps. So the idea being that, every jurisdiction everywhere has totally different rules when it comes to being able to, onboard into crypto. So the best way to offer that, again, not reinventing the wheel, is to just go to an aggregator service that is able to self-select depending on your jurisdiction and offer you the best service. You can go straight from credit card, bank account, straight into crypto, gets deposited into DeFiApp. You can purchase a meme coin directly from your credit card. It's, when the next meme coin catches fire, all you need is some TikTok influencer to be talking about it, and users go to DeFi.app and they can buy that meme coin directly from their bank card.
Yep, that is the experience. That's what the people want. Got to give the people what they want. That's what the people want. Exactly. Yep. So, so do you have lending and borrowing in your app? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's again another one of those in alpha situations. We're going to start off really simple. Just have Aave in there. Creates. We want to. Our goal, honestly, being totally upfront with everybody, is we have a lofty goal to be able to become the home of finance. So we want to 80-20 sort of every single area. Explore lending, borrowing, earn. See where people use it, where the high signal to noise is, and then double down on that. So, to begin with, keeping lending, borrowing really simple with Aave. Of course, we're looking at all of the other products like Morpho, and there's so many lending products now these days. Integrate them, see how people use it, and then decide what areas we want to innovate in. But it will always fundamentally be, everything we do is fundamentally the same feature, which is seamless money movement. That's the problem in decentralized finance right now is it's incredibly fragmented and difficult to get from A to Z. We just make that really seamless. And then on top of that, it's lending and borrowing. On top of that, it's yield farming or swapping or perps trading.
Yeah. So how do you make perps trading comprehensible to the AOL, the average Joe 386 pack out there? How do you dumb it down for them? And I say that with kindness.
Yeah. No, I like it. At the end of the day, like our philosophy with the design is always progressive disclosure, which really just means like give people bite-sized information, and when they've consumed that, when they understand what that is, give them more. Like everything in DeFiApp is all the complexities abstracted away, but we have this like double click method, which is really more of this progressive disclosure, which is really just like, again, you can just drive the car. You don't need to know much. But should you want to learn more, you can just go pop the hood and take a look under, right? Like you can always see, transparently where your money is and how it flows through Sushi this time or through, Jupiter this time or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. You can see how it transitions from A to Z if you want to see that. But 99% of the time, especially when you have trust with the product, you don't need to see that anymore. And so, yeah, that's very much our philosophy, and it's kind of how we've approached perps. Is just really simplify things down, but give pro traders the options to be able to customize it, to be able to double click, to be able to pull out that extra information, those knobs and dials that they need to be able to trade better. And then equally, there's education too. So just teaching people, through various different means, teaching people how to trade perps. At the end of the day, trading perps is a more sophisticated feature, as it should be, right?
It is.
So.
Well, let me tell you what I'm thinking. So, because there was a time like maybe 2 years ago where I didn't understand how perps worked, and I just never been a trader. I'd invested in crypto and coins, but I'd never used leverage, and I just sort of had a day where I was like, okay, I want to learn how perpetual futures works, and I basically got an account and I started experimenting, put money in. And I didn't know like at first like what the funding rate was. I'm like, why am I bleeding money like that? Why is there like a little bit taken out every day? And then some days it flipped positive. Then I was like making money, so the funding rate flowed in my direction. I'm like, well, what makes it like? Why is that? And what is that? And why does it exist? And then then I was trying to figure out like, okay, so when do I get liquidated? Like, and does that happen immediately? And, just sort of like, it's things like, and then, and one morning I woke up and I got liquidated and I didn't know why my money was gone. Right. And so then I got the hang of it. And once you understand it, it makes sense, but it's not like a simple thing. Right. So I'm sort of like, how do you make that simple? I mean, I guess you're telling people, look, you might get liquidated. If it hits this price, you're going to lose all your money. Is that sort of the thing that you're doing progressively?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, there will, of course, there's tooltips and explainers. Like these are like base level UX things. It's like, okay, I'm curious what this thing is. I hover on it. I get a nice succinct explanation. But the way I think we provide comprehensive tooling, these complex products at scale, like the way I think we create an experience that is a pro experience, but anyone can do it. This is where I actually think AI comes in. So this is where I think, just natural, chat interface, because, this is conceptual, but just imagine being able to say, like, ask a question, like, what is this? Hover over the funding rate and have it actually explain it to you. Come back to it with follow-up questions, like have it walk you through or be a companion and walk you through as you interface with the application. And like, it explains things to you. It can do things on your behalf. It's very much just this personal white glove companion that, navigates decentralized finance with you. And this is where I think that comes in. And you can add, you can provide all kinds of automated strategies and stuff like that, like DCAing and TWAPs and scales and all this stuff. You can give that to the everyday user without them trying, seeing a panel or trading terminal of like all these knobs and dials. Like instead of seeing that, right, you can keep it nice and clean, really simple, Tesla approach where it's just, you're in there and all the smart stuff is just in this interface there ready for you, if you want it, if you need it.
Do you ever give the AI control of the wallet, like so that the person speaks to the AI, something like a chat GPT and says, okay, I want you to take my stable coins, find the best yield and move it around when that situation changes. And I just never want to think about it again. Are you doing stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't, because I've heard some people, like, what happens when the AI hallucinates your money away? Like that's a real fear, right? Because we know the AIs, every once in a while, they just go off the rails, right? So, and if it's got control of my wallet, probably it won't go off the rails, but if it does, that's dangerous, right?
And even just not trusting it to be able to execute on your behalf, whether it will or not, is out the question. Like, if you don't trust it, then will you ever get to the point where you learn that it can do the thing? So, yeah, I think that's why a lot of companies, have taken this approach of like, great, let's throw out the trading interface you're used to and replace it for a chat, where now you have to like type out, I want to buy this meme coin with this balance on this. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you can do that in 3 clicks, and on DeFiApp, it's trivial to trade using the swap interface. So that's not what people need AI for. So I really think of AI as this companion. It's this heads-up display. It's your assistant. It's autopilot. But like, imagine being in a Tesla and autopilot's on, but I don't know, you don't see the wheel turning, whatever. Like, they very much could have designed those cars to not have the wheel turn when it's turning corners, but they intentionally have the wheel turning because it's feedback, right? It shows you can at any point take that over and control it if you need to. And so I very much think of DeFiApp as the same way, which is you will 99% of the time prefer just clicking on the inputs to be able to select, some meme coin that you want to buy immediately. There are some situations where it actually is faster to type it out, especially complex things, especially maybe as it knows your strategy and it can execute, for you. Or if you have some automated strategy like a bot or something like that, it's an AI agent that runs on your behalf. Like, you can do all of this. But yeah, very much just always making it feel like it's controlling the interface, not replacing the interface, because you already trust the interface. You already trust the classic swap module. So, you know what I mean? Like, when it's making changes and inputting a trade, it inputs it on the swap module, not reinventing it or replacing it with a chat. It's just a no-brainer.
Dude, that's a really, really key insight. The fact, I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that the Teslas, you could have made it so that when the robot is turning the car, the wheel just stays in place. Yeah. But that would have freaked out the drivers. They're like, wait, why isn't the wheel turning? It's turning. The car's turning. Why isn't the wheel turning? And it would have been very bad feedback. That would have felt very disconcerting to the driver or the passenger, right? Yeah. It's like, why is the ghost not turning the wheel, right? Like, you want the ghost turning the wheel, right? So, because then when you grab it, everything just sort of works the way you expect it to. Yes, that's a very key insight. So, yes, you are the right person to be designing the UI for the average person. I like the way your brain thinks about these things. So, yes,
that's all I think about.
So what is your marketing plan? I know, having been someone who's done apps in the past, there's something, I think it's like 5 million, like literally 5 million apps in the App Store. How do you stand out in that sort of sea of stuff, and how do you market yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about getting critical mass, getting buzz, aligning with the community. There's so much, DeFi as a whole is quite a small community. You really are just one person removed from everybody in the crypto Twitter watering hole. So doubling down on that first, I don't know if you've ever read the book Traction, but anyway, it's a brilliant book. It talks about the process of this bullseye process where there is an audience that you focus on at various stages of your company. When you reach that milestone, there's a pivot that you do. You start off pivoting the product, but then eventually you pivot the audience. So right now it's just focused on crypto natives, crypto Twitter. Eventually you branch out. And so you've got to keep getting critical mass at each and every stage to be able to then get onto the next thing. I think some things that really do well for DeFiApp is that we've got social login. So people log in, the vast majority log in using email address or social connection or whatever, which gives us a Web2 like channel for contacting people, for creating re-engagement loops, for various growth mechanics like Degen Arena, for example, highly incentivizes people to refer others because it rewards more XP, for faction owners, for individuals, and so we've got quite a few dials that we can turn. There's also partnerships too, which have been very keen. We've got some really awesome announcements coming up very, very soon. It's a one step at a time, very grassroots. But it's one of those things where it's like you start on an audience, you solve their problems first, you leverage that audience to be able to get high up on the App Store interface, which then gets you to a point where TikTok people can see it, and then you run TikTok campaigns, and now all of a sudden you're not just crypto Twitter, you're now TikTok or mainstream audience, right? And then you keep pivoting every single time you scale to the next level. And that's how you get the next billion people on chain.
So segmenting a market and crossing the chasm, things that have worked since time immemorial, if you know the lessons of history. And makes total sense. And then, just TikTok is the marketing channel for the broader adoption, more above and beyond kind of anything else at the moment. I think that's correct. So
just influencer marketing.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about you, and let's talk about your past. So what were you doing before this, and what led you to create this company and product?
Yeah, I've been in crypto for a long time now. 2017 was my first.
Oh wow, yeah, as long as me.
Yeah, so actually, it's quite funny. I actually built an app back then. It was an automated trading terminal, and it was at a time when centralized exchanges sucked. And you couldn't do anything automated with them. And so this has been able to create a position where you open with 5 take profits and a stop loss, and it just executes when that criteria is met. It's kind of like a bot, but with a web interface. And it's funny because a lot of those concepts, the same things we were doing then, which is, simplifying crypto, this was just built as, via the APIs going into centralized exchanges. The same things we were doing then and the same things we're redoing today. So, really kind of coming full circle. That company was acquired by Shopify. I went and worked there for a little while in their finance team, led the launch of their, whole new financial suite in North America.
Wait, so Shopify acquired a crypto company?
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's very interesting.
It was mostly, like a team sort of hire, but it was largely just get our, they were building out their crypto suites, diving deep into finance as a whole. And so, bought our team out. We went over and worked over there for a bit. And I later got into Zappa. A lot of people are familiar with them. Awesome company. It's, started off as like a portfolio tracker, but very much now like a social, blockchain application that kind of, an explorer for everything. And as I worked there, it was working there that kind of gave me this idea of being this UX layer to, unify all that decentralized finance has to offer, kind of made me realize how fragmented the space is, made me think about, DeFi summer, and how painful it was going from one wallet to another wallet, finding the right bridges, making sure you're not getting scammed, all the stuff. And and kind of just stumbled on this idea to start, DeFiApp, first just focusing on solving that seamless bridging experience. And a large component to that was discovering Dynamic. So Dynamic actually power our social login, and they make it trivial. They make it so simple that one of the most important things, complexities to overcome is, how do you move away from this concept of wallets? I think wallets is such a bad name. It's such a bad UX pattern that throws everybody off. And just move towards this Web 2 account a concept where it's you create an account. Behind the scenes, it's wallets. Obviously, behind the scenes, it's all self-custodial wallets that you can export the keys from and go elsewhere. But conceptually, you just have this one account that allows you to interface with all of, with every blockchain. And so Dynamic being a huge component to that, and the rest was history, as we were off to the races. Started off with spot trading, then, getting into, yield farming and leverage and lending and borrowing.
Yeah. So just to be clear, you're an engineer by training. Yeah. Developer.
Yeah, and exactly. I'm a front end developer and designer though. Designer is very much my thing. I'm very much a product guy when you summarize it all, but I'm very much a designer first. That's my superpower.
Yes. Is this your first company? This is the first thing you've raised for?
No. Raised quite a few times for a few different companies.
Oh, you have. Okay. So what was so before this? So what did you go to school for? If you went to school, some people haven't. Then what were the companies? Sort of what did you do before this? So maybe it's not even crypto related, but who are you?
It was. I keep a few of those things in the down low, but the high level is I spent a lot of time in social, like Web 2 social. Later on, got into Web 3 social. Raised quite a bit of money to build out a blockchain messenger. It was kind of like Signal, but built on the blockchain. And that got acquired back in 2022. So yeah, I've been in and out. I've dabbled. I've done all kinds of stuff. But yeah.
Got it. Okay. So let's talk now about broader things. So where do you think we are right now in the crypto cycle? It's kind of it's an interesting time. I mean, just from my point of view, we got David Sachs, who's now the crypto and AI czar. And we've got the Trump administration sort of rolling back all the bad stuff that Gary Gensler threw at us. And we appear to be in the most regulatorily friendly environment we've ever been in, with the least amount of risk. Yet the market just sort of sitting there like, man, that's all right. I don't really care. Right. Which is sort of weird to me. It's the calm before the storm, or does this stuff not matter? What do you make of sort of the landscape right now? And what do you think about what's happening in DC?
Yeah, I think on the macro scale, this is an accumulation period for the entire crypto market. The large focus, of course, being on Bitcoin. I think this is absolutely bullish. I think crypto is inevitable. It's something that the more you try to kill it, the stronger its value proposition becomes. It's better to work with it. So yeah, I think, I do not expect this to be smooth sailing, but this is, obviously unprecedented. There's unprecedented adoption, acceptance, and I imagine this to be very, very good for crypto as a whole. But it's interesting though, because I do think we're in such a mixed signals market where it's really tough to say, are we in a bull market or are we in a bear market, or like, what is this? And that's what makes me think it's just an accumulation zone. It's really like a sideways market with a lot of chop. And it could even be part of a massive super cycle for, crypto as a whole. Driven, always going to be led by Bitcoin. It's an interesting time. I think something that's interesting this time around is, DeFi as a whole really has not had its mass adoption moment, and that's what we're hoping to be. There needs to be a catalyst for it, and there needs to be an obvious, easy on-ramp for it. That just hasn't happened yet. We're well positioned for it, is what I think. And I think that the market is set to boom 10x.
Yeah, I remember back when DeFi Summer happened, after, sort of right at the peak of it, Andreessen Horowitz wrote a State of Crypto report, and they had a graph in there that showed DeFi growing from zero to roughly 200 billion in TVL over the course of, I think it was like a year, maybe a year and a half. And the comment from Andreessen Horowitz was, we've literally never seen a market grow this fast. It's and they're Andreessen Horowitz. They see everything and they've seen every graph, right? So, then that fell apart. Then Luna happened, then FTX happened, right? And then that graph very quickly went down to about 50 billion. And now today it's sitting at like 150 billion or so. So hasn't quite healed back up all the way the last time I looked at it, but it's on its way back up. But it reminds me, the whole pattern reminds me very much of the .com boom and then bust and then mega boom. And it feels like the same thing to me, but in a compressed time frame. So, the time between .com boom and bust to, sort of healthy market was like 8 to 10 years, right? Before things sort of, really just kicked into gear. I don't think it'll be 8 to 10 years here. I think it'll be 2 to 3, which would put us like right about where we are right now. And I think, I look at what's happened with, Bitcoin. I mean, obviously the Trump administration is very pro Bitcoin. It was one of the platforms of, that he ran on, and a lot of crypto money flowed into his coffers. We did get the Bitcoin reserve, but the federal government has not announced the buying program, right? So I think it's been sort of mixed signals, right? Ever since he became president, it hasn't, the meme, he did a Solana meme coin, which I think turned a lot of people off in the crypto industry. We all kind of looked at that and went, ew, why are we, no, that's bad. Don't do that. And so it's been sort of mixed. And I think I think you're right. I think we're in a chop period. And I think ultimately it won't matter. I think ultimately, the favorable regulatory environment, and the fact that banks are getting into this now and the ETF, like all that stuff is concatenating quietly while the market is chopping sideways. And it feels like we're winding a spring that's just going to go boom, like at some point once a catalyst hits. Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Very much like that.
So is there anything I didn't cover? We're coming up on the hour that you thought we should cover?
I think this is good. I'm very happy with it. I think something to consider is, the points program, the XP program, is shortly coming to a close for season 1. Season 2 is going to be bigger and badder, and it's going to, we're going to go straight into season 2 afterwards. The purpose of season 1 of any points campaign is always to have a much bigger season 2. It's all part of the growth mechanics. So yeah, there's going to be more information on that very soon. TG is not too far out into the future. I'm very excited for public release of mobile. Very excited for Perps, which we're launching open access to next week. So yeah, very very fun times ahead.
So wait, you said TG, token generation event. I don't think we've talked about the token yet. Nope. So there is a token coming. Okay, tell us about that.
Well, there's not much I can say other than very, very soon here. It's a matter of weeks, not months. Okay. We're going to be at the Token 2049 in Dubai at the end of the month. And there should be some more clarity then. More fun ideas then.
We will follow your career with great interest, as the Emperor Palpatine once said. So,
the token's going to be called Home. That's what I can tell you for now. Is the token's called Home because we're building the home finance.
Very nice. Okay, so we did get a little bit of alpha here. So thank you for that. Always appreciate it on the show.
Of course.
All right, Dan, this has been really great and edifying, and I'm super impressed with your mind and how it thinks about these UI problems. So yes, I think you're the right person to be doing this, and I'm very hopeful that your app becomes incredibly huge, Binance large, and I think you got a shot at it. I think you've got the talent for it, and you clearly know the back end and the front end. So I wish you all the best of luck, and thank you for sharing some time with us today.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you very much.
All right. My name is Mark Jeffrey. This has been Hash Rate. We'll see you all next time.
Have the AI observe the quantum double slit experiment. If it's able to collapse the wave function in exactly the same way as a human observer, then it's conscious like we are. There's someone at home in there.
Armand, your own father was part of Concordia. It was they who ordered him to produce the Musipocalypse. I'm chasing machine consciousness. Who will be first to make a soul in a mind made of metal? A real soul, electric sentience.
Metatronic.
This is a synchronicity engine. It is used to calculate a path through the world, one that produces favorable chance occurrences in order to obtain a specific result.
Look out! Drive faster!
I now know how to create an electronic peripheral that will allow for true conscious machines.
So this is the Atman project. This is not what I expected. Where are the military training camps?
Concordia believes that consciousness is primary, matter secondary. Reality, matter itself, is just a vibrational construct of frozen thought.
Here is a tale of a man's deeds and desires, of his quantum choices, of madness and twisted wires, his astrology encrypted and hidden from view. Only pyramids and shadows know the things that he'll do. Stop. Listen, I'll make you a deal. Me for them.
Your father didn't merely die in the challenges. Oh no, Verinder killed him